So the story behind this tie is I got it from a homeless guy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like the trains were like being diverted, so I had to take the bus instead. So I walked out the station, and this guy comes up to me and he's like, "Look, I need some money. I'm selling this tie." It's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "All right." So I gave him a couple of quid. He gave me the tie, and now I've got a South Park tie. So
That's amazing.
Hello and welcome to the OU review. We have a very special one for you today. I'll be your host, Al, and joining me is my co host, Erica.
What's up?
And we have very special guests today. Joining us is Kumail H.
Howdy ho!
There he is. And the wonderful McKenna at Potter Pants. McKenna.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How's it going? I'm very excited to get into this. This is the second special that South Park has released since the start of the pandemic. The first one was the pandemic special. And I'm guessing they're doing just specials instead of episodic releases like they used to, which I'm all for. This special for me is very different, very personal, because we'll do a recap and then we'll get into why this one's a historic one, if you will. Is it historic or historical?
Historic is fine.
I like historic.
So it starts with I love this opening scene with Mr. Mackey and the shop teacher. Oh my God, what's his name?
Mr. Adler.
Mr. Adler. That's right. Erica telling me South Park character names. That's weird.
It is weird. You're right.
Going into a Walgreens for a vaccine and getting rejected because only seniors are getting vaccines. Former U.S. President, Mr. Garrison, returns finally. I remember this whole during the election, everyone was getting fired up. All I cared about was having Mr. Garrison back. I was like, at least we'll get Garrison back. He won't be Trump anymore. And he gets into some trouble with the QAnon, trying to find messages and everything he says to them because they don't have a leader anymore. We end up with a subdivision of the QAnons, the cuties,
Little
which would
cuties.
make little cuties, which would make a perfect little sort of chapter in like the next video game or we also get another group, the community kids, and that's when the South Park kids decide to, for a prank that they played on their current teacher, which involved ketchup and a white skirt, decide to realize that they can only get her back if they provide vaccines for the teachers. And that's when they come up with the community kids and try to get the vaccines for the teachers that way. Somehow, Mr. Garrison convinces the higher powers that be to just eliminate COVID from South Park. And that happens too. All the while, Cartman is very upset about the broship, as he put it. And no one else seems to believe him, but towards the end of the episode, it turns out that Cartman was right, and the broship was dying, and the boys are no longer friends. And that's where we leave off the episode. I'm going to hold you, Camille. I'm not going to get to you now. But first, let's start with Erica, and I want to hear what your history of South Park is. When did you start watching, and how much did you watch?
Okay, so I started watching South Park. I'm pretty sure when South Park first started. I mean, I'm older, and I remember when South Park first came out, and I'm pretty sure I started from the beginning. And I watched it pretty frequently when it first came out. Now, there was a big chunk of time where I didn't have cable, so I didn't have access to watching South Park. Didn't have internet, so I didn't have access to watch South Park. So really, I think, and I know we discussed this a little bit yesterday, the last real episode I remember watching was the World of Warcraft episode, which was a big one for me because, man, I could go on for hours about how much Warcraft I used to play. So, and we're not going to talk about that because I've been clean for like 9 years now, and we're not going there. So it's been a while since I've watched any South Park, and I mean, I'll catch the random episode here and there or rerun or something, but it's been a long time since I've watched any South Park. But jumping back into this episode, there was kind of that good nostalgia that was like, man, nothing has changed. Like that warning that popped up at the beginning of the episode of like, you better not be offended because you know what this is, was just like, yep, here it is. Nothing
I'm
has
gonna
changed.
interrupt you real quick.
And I loved it.
That opening warning is the first appearance of that particular warning, and it parodies like the Disney Plus and the Warner Brothers, the HBO Max. Hey there. Where it's like dated like offensive content.
Yeah.
So they're like, it was offensive. It's probably offensive when you're watching it. It's also it probably was offensive at the time as well. And that's just the first time we ever get a different warning for South Park. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, this is offensive now. It's going to be offensive in the future. And if you don't like it, then don't watch it. Like, that's just what this is, and that's kind of what South Park always has been. It's always walked that line. And that's just kind of how it is. And it was just, it was almost like, a warm blanket. Like, yep, this is exactly where I left it, and it picked right back up where I was. And seeing all these characters again, back to Mr. Mackey, and I didn't know that Gareth, was a president, but sure, cool, whatever. I mean, great. This is all things that happened. And then seeing everybody run in where, you saw Jesus coming back, and, Mr. Tally was there, and everybody was running in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Kanye was there. I loved it. Like, I remember all of these things, and it was fantastic. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. I loved it. Yep.
McKenna, what about you? What's your history with South Park? Even though we did talk about this, but for the listeners.
So I started watching South Park in 2017. I was like, I'm gonna watch all of South Park. I watched the first season, and then I haven't been back since. I just got distracted with other stuff, but I have watched a lot of like behind the scenes stuff and like different clips from different episodes and whatnot, and reading background material and whatnot. But is very interesting going back now and realizing, like, yeah, like Erica said, nothing. From what I can remember, nothing's changed that much.
What's really funny about that is a lot has changed. And had you come back to it for the pandemic special, let's say, you would be totally lost. Things are just starting to get back to normal, and I'm sure Camille agrees with that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, and like Erica said again, like Garrison was president, he left. Like there were so many things. I was like, oh, I gotta go back and like read up on everything again. But it was really interesting, and man, I want to get back into South Park again so bad.
I hope you do. I hope you do. We need more. Hey, make it part of HBO Max. Hello.
There we go.
Are you okay, buddy? What's going on?
Do you remember? Remember when Garrison was president? Remember? Like, wasn't it the thing that the member berries like coordinated all this? And I was actually hoping that there would be like the powers that be, the member berries.
Oh yeah, that would have been amazing. How did you? Yeah. Oh, let's for the folks listening. What's your history with South Park, and how did you feel about this one?
So me being a kid, it just used to be on TV most of the time. I think it was like usually Comedy Central over here. And so I'd just watch it, random episodes and stuff like that. And it was like back in the day when Chef was there. And it kind of felt like each episode was its own thing rather than like throughout the season, like the story was kind of building subtly. But yeah, I've been watching since I was a kid. I used to play the games like, South Park Rally on the PlayStation 1. And then like, also you got the movie as well, which was just so good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's just been something I grew up with really. And then, just started watching it consistently week after week when the season used to come out. So that's sort of my history of South Park. And I was actually like, there's not many people that watch South Park. And then when I met you, and to find out that you were a huge fan, it was just like, oh damn, finding someone else. But the special was amazing, and I do enjoy the kind of like 20-minute episodes we get week by week. But I can understand why it would be a lot of work, especially currently, to be able to pull that off. So to have these one-off specials that tell a bigger story and sort of talk about the contemporary like topics that we have at this time is amazing, and I really enjoyed the 40-minute special. So yeah.
And what was your reaction to the bro ship?
I love how like you get to the start of the episode and Cartman, you're thinking, oh wow, lockdown's really changed Cartman, he's being a lot more considerate and stuff like that, and then you find out it's all for an elaborate prank on the teacher, like, oh for fuck's sake, Cartman. But then I love how like throughout the episode he's like, Kenny, you right, Kenny? All right, here's some troll headphones, Kenny, here, go watch Madagascar 3.
Oh god,
So,
but
just for the sake of not past spoilers, I guess, for like if people want to go back and watch, I don't buy Kenny being the little baby that they have to hide the broship breaking up from, because that we know what kind of person Kenny is. We know
well,
what
Kenny's
he's
been an
capable
asshole
of.
back in the past. Like
Yeah.
we all remember Kenny's girlfriend where he ditched the guys for a blowjob. So,
Oh, yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll do another question now. How about what did you notice that has changed, Erica, as opposed to all the stuff that was the same when watching this special?
I mean, again, like there were some characters that were obviously missing, and um, but it's been so long, I think, since I've actually watched that I couldn't. I guess I couldn't pick up on a lot of things that were different. Which, and I'm like I said, I'm sure that I've missed a ton that's gone on since like I said, it's been years and years and years since I've watched. I know I've missed a lot that's gone on. Like I said, even you know, Garrison, Mr. Hat came back. I didn't know that Mr. Hat was
Yes.
gone. Like, what happened? Why was Mr. Hat gone? It's like one of my favorites. And it just even things like that, just and as I'm still just really confused about the whole Garrison being president thing, but we're not going to get into that right now. Um,
He's been through a lot, I'll say.
yeah,
He's been
well,
through a
we
lot.
might have to talk about that later. But as far as
Absolutely.
like things changing, I mean, and like I said, it when I say it feels the same, I more mean in the whole overall comedy aspect of, it's still that like walking the line of, you're going to be offended humor, which, I love sometimes and it's perfect. And that's what I go to South Park for, while still dealing with these current issues, which is what I've always loved about South Park. Matt Stone and Trey Parker were, they wrote these episodes a week at a time, and that was always their thing. And that was what I always loved about these episodes, was it was always current, up to date episodes of things happening now. And that's what I always loved about these. So
It's
And
incredible
McKenna,
when you think about it. You're talking about
really
they did it
is.
1 week at a time. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when it came to elections, where it was like I think it was like either Obama or someone else, and like they had to write two different scripts based on like who would win that election. I
Exactly.
remember watching the episode a couple of days later and thinking like, how have they managed to pull this off? And like, it's
It's
so impressive.
incredible. They're
Yeah.
genius, like genius, absolutely
Mm.
genius. What they've
the
done with this show.
the first serialized season we got was because of the fact that they were not expecting Trump to win and had
Mm-hmm.
the arc written out as a Hillary win in the campaign, and then they had to go and change everything, and that's how we got member berries, by the way. That
Oh
was
really?
not the plan. Oh yeah.
Oh nice.
It was insane. McKenna, what was the biggest surprise for you going from season 1 to what season 24 is the equivalent, I guess?
Kenny didn't die.
That's a good point. I didn't even think
That's a
about
really
that.
good
Oh
point.
my gosh.
So now Kenny dies occasionally, so you never know when he
Okay.
will. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it's like, ooh, a surprise. Oh, that's fun.
That is cool. That is awesome. Did
I
not
also
think that.
don't remember. Granted, it was like 5 years ago since I last watched it, but like I don't remember it being as like the language being as vulgar. Like it threw me. They were throwing things around. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
America. It was, oh my gosh. It was insane. It's like, am I allowed to watch this? I don't know. It was cool. It was, yeah, I liked
I love
it.
that.
Camille, what about you? I know this question doesn't really, because you've been there all along, but I guess you can talk about how, if at all, you see this as a return to form in any way. Like as a return to the old classic South Park with Garrison, Mr. Hat.
It's nice seeing Mr. Garrison and Mr. Hat there. Maybe it might signal it, but who's to say? It could just change the next episode again, and Mr. Garrison will find something else to go down the route of. We've got PC principle to be fair, so you can't take that, I guess. But like, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I don't know is the simple answer to that, Al. Anything could happen to me, for me, and like this episode as a standalone episode didn't feel all that different to watching like the episodes throughout the season. So yeah, I don't think too much has changed, but let's see what happens going forward.
Okay, I have another question for you, Camille. If
Oh, no.
Simply Sassy were to end the broship, who would have to who would we have to take custody of, like, and just share around the clock? Who
Carl.
would be the one?
Yep.
Carl.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, buddy,
Best
have you heard
answer.
of this new track by Skrillex? Just put these Red Panda headphones.
Put your
Skrillex.
headphones on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, I was gonna have him for the OU pod on Wednesday. I'm gonna have him for the Poker Ramble on Thursday. Like, Max is
Exactly.
Oh, He's the
Uh,
best of us.
you know, Mac was saying like she can't believe how vulgar it is. Like,
Mhm.
I love how like they're in the vaccine club, and then they've got the old person with them, and
Yup.
the community kids with a K.
Yup.
The woman's like, "Give me more money or I'll squill." And he's like, "Oh, you slut!"
Yup.
It's like,
I love the whole old people being the teenagers, the crazy teenagers in
Yeah.
the cars and just like
I love
going
how
wild.
like Stan's grandpa goes outside like Stan's house. Is like, "Hey, Billy!
Yeah.
Fuck you, Billy!"
You get back to your social distancing,
Yup.
Yeah.
loser.
That was great.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like you said, Al. Like, I'll be really interested to see if like they bring it back to like season 1 sort of South Park, that earlier renditions of South Park, or whether or not they'll still go down the contemporary route of just talking about current day issues.
I think we'll get a mix of classic South Park, but with different groups of friends, as we saw
Oh, really?
Cartman's
You think-
friends.
You think the bro ship's actually proper over? I don't think it's proper over.
100%. Oh, 100%, man. I
Wow.
think it is. I really think this is them flipping the whole thing, like, and breaking the fourth wall in Garrison, and seeing Trey and Matt's pictures in a
Yeah.
South Park episode was just unbelievable.
I
like, the
loved
closest
that
we got to
moment.
that was a reference to basketball. I don't know if you know this, Erica, but one time they were trying to get their money back for The Passion of the Christ because they didn't think it was a good movie, and then they said, "This will be just like that one time we got our money back for basketball." That was the only
Nice.
basketball reference, acknowledging that it was a horrible movie in their opinion. I loved it.
Baseball's a great movie. It's a great movie. I don't know.
But
what anyone's
yeah,
talking
getting
about.
Matt and Trey in the episode and having that whole like Garrison trying to figure out what's going on, and then them messing with like the environment and everything, and then him making a deal with Matt and Trey to send in Israeli help.
So they come in the shot.
It's like everyone just going to town with each other, just like celebrating being able to touch and do things.
So
Spit
you
in
guys
each
talk
other's
about,
mouths.
Like, Kenny not being that
Yes.
guy who's like all that innocent and stuff like that. Do you think maybe because the guys have been home learning for so long, and Kenny being the poor kid without all the technology and stuff like that, he's been suffering because of it, and
Ooh,
maybe like
that's a
that's
great
why he's a bit
point.
sensitive at the moment, being able to see his friends finally.
Right,
Good
right. I
point.
didn't even think of it that way. That's a great point. But yeah, it's not like we haven't changed in this pandemic. Like I know for sure I'm I'm not the same person I was last year.
Yeah. No, not even close. Me neither. That's for sure.
And for like the pandemic to be the last the spark that sort of just ends the broship for these guys, I think it's the best move they could have done. So I want to, since you know this, Camille, do you remember who Cartman's new friends were?
Oh, shit! They're at the end of the episode. I can't remember their names though.
It was Clyde,
wasn't
one of my
Oh, it's-
favorites.
Clyde.
Yeah,
I think Clyde was there, yeah.
wasn't Craig
Jimmy
there?
was
he?
there, and a brown kid, which we've never seen
Oh,
before.
Token. Oh, it's just no brown kid.
Yeah. Who do you think are going to be Stan's group of friends, for example? Let's go for the rest of the boys. Stan and Kyle, at least, since Kenny's going to be with the boys
They
at
just
all
share 'em.
times.
But it can't be Scott Malkinson because he's a son of a bitch.
The only one I know
Probably-
is Butters. So
Oh, who gets Butters?
yeah. Who gets
I think
Butters?
Butters is just going to be the wild card. Butters was always the wild card. It seems like in South Park, where he's either Dr.
He's
K
one of
or so
my
he's
favorites.
like stuck in his house, so
Grounded for not doing anything. That's amazing.
Who are the
Like-
two boys in the Yowie stuff? I forgot their names.
Tweak and Craig.
Yeah,
Tweak,
maybe Tweak and Craig. They have them in
Tweak's
the.
good
Yes, Al, I still don't think that they are actually ending the broship. I think maybe.
So
for
tell me
this,
why
like,
you don't think that's happening. I'm very interested, honestly.
just because I can't imagine a South Park without those four having that dynamic with each other. that's practically why.
But
Because they've
we've
just
had
got
that
such.
before. We've had Cartman Butters episodes. We've had Stan and like
We've
Wendy
had like
episodes.
Civil
We've
War,
had
yeah. We've had all like
yeah.
we've had like superhero episodes, but I think like they've always come back together as a singularity, haven't they? So I don't think like it's going to be a thing where they permanently are like apart from each other. I think they
I
will
would
be
agree.
back with each
Yeah.
other.
I think
Here's what I
would
think.
agree.
I think it's gonna be a season arc for whatever counts as a season next whatever. So like remember when Kenny died for good, and he was gone all of season 5.
For
It's where
good.
you when they build a mountain to a ladder to heaven.
Yeah, there it is. That's the one. And they try to build a ladder to heaven to get to Kenny. But yeah, Kenny was dead for good for a whole season, and then he just came back with no explanation. So I'm guessing that's, if you were to ask me, I think that's what's going to happen with the broship. I think we're going to get a season's worth of the boys not hanging out together, having separate groups of friends, and then they'll change that and go back to
Then
normal,
maybe
I
it's not
guess.
going to be a permanent group of friends. Maybe it's going to change up from episode to episode where they're hanging
I
out
could see
with
that
different
too.
Probably.
people.
That'd
Like
be
maybe there's
cool.
like a token episode where they're hanging out with
Yes.
Token.
Yeah.
Ask him to play the bass again. Like, still one of my favorite South Park moments.
Cartman says to Token, "You're black, you can play bass." And then Token's like, "No." He picks up a bass and he just magically plays this
And he's like-
amazing bass line. He's like, "Yeah,
God
told you."
damn it, dude!
Oh god.
It's like, Token, you're black. You can play bass. That's fucked up. Damn it.
Love it.
Oh, so good.
I love it.
So
All right.
one of the funniest quotes in this episode, which I like, is when Cartman turns to Kyle. He's like, "Silence is violence, Kyle. Silence
Yes.
is
This
violence."
is violence.
And then like
So good.
Kyle's dad brings up and says, "Silence is violence, Kyle. You don't want to kill mum."
Yep. It's so good. Don't say it. Silence or violence, Kyle.
That's amazing.
It was
It's
so
one of my
good.
favorite quotes of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I love the end of the episode as well. We're talking about the broship, and it's just like, hey, Cartman, Casa Bonita, whatever the fuck they're talking about, is opening up.
Yep.
You want to come along? He's like, yeah, I'd love to. Oh fuck, I've got Kenny this weekend.
Yep. Yep. And he just storms off. It's perfect.
Oh,
But he
God.
was also the one person who actually cared enough to try to fix the broship, as opposed to someone like Stan, who was just like, "I want out of this. I'm done with this pandemic."
Yeah.
But it's nice to see Cartman actually try to keep the broship going, and then seeing him just freak out because he has Kenny and can't go to Casa Bonita.
And then he has all of these when they're trying to go through the different setups for all the weekends. And it just, as a child of divorced parents, I'm just like, this is really hitting close to home, number one, but it's hilarious. I was cracking up. But maybe we do the 2-2-3, or we do this one, or we do this one. And he just has like 15 different scenarios on how they can set up weekend with Kenny, and it's hilarious. It just, yeah.
I like the 223. The 223 is great.
It was. The 2-2-3 was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah.
And but what if we all have them on the same days? That would make more sense. No, it's not. Let's do this one then. Yeah.
See, I don't
Let's
think
go.
Cartman has ever worked that hard for anything other than
Anything.
money or taking over the world. Like,
You're
not for the
absolutely right.
broship.
Yeah.
No.
Mm.
It was very surprising to see him like put so much effort into trying to.
That
work
was the same
out.
amount of effort he put into the Scott Tenorman thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
In order to kill, or in order to have someone eat their own parents, yeah, he'll go to those lengths, but not to save a friendship. No, I've never seen him do that.
Yeah, it was surprising. So like at the beginning of the episode, like I said, like I was like, oh, he cares about this, and it turns straight away to pranking the teacher. I'm like, for fuck's sake, Cartman. Like,
But the prank is to save the broship, so he's
yeah,
actually.
but that's the
doing
thing. Like
this
I
for-
didn't. That's the thing. I wasn't expecting that from Cartman, so I'm just thinking Cartman's using that as an excuse to prank the teacher.
To
but
prank
no.
the teacher.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
it's the other way around, where he wants to prank the teacher to save the broship. Oh man. And like it's indicative of like lockdown, because think of it this way, like a lot of kids have not seen their friends at school and stuff like that. And now that they're at
Absolutely.
home isolating, maybe playing like on their Xboxes or doing party chats with other people, you know, their broships in school, the kind of relationship they did have in school with other people, is that still a thing? And I think that's maybe some of what the episode's hinting towards. Like that's maybe what they're trying to talk about.
I wouldn't
'Cause
be
it's-
surprised if Matt and Trey were going through the same thing, and that they just
Yeah.
put that on paper for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing is, like, when you think about it, like, especially younger kids. And sorry to get deep here, but can you imagine how strange it is for young kids to be isolated at home, have a lot of like not too much noise, and then suddenly go to a noisy environment like a school? Like, how are they going to adapt to that now?
Oh
Because
yeah.
they're just not used to it. It's going to be really, really freaky for them.
My mom
Absolutely.
works in kindergarten, and she
Mm.
said like going from online to now they're in person, like they don't know, like they just sort of leave the classroom to go to the bathroom, or like they just speak out without having to raise, like that they forgot like how school works really,
Mhm.
and like socialization and everything is completely different. But
Oh, and then even in someone like my daughter's a bit older, but even in the kids who are closer to the teenage years, I know that my child's friends groups have definitely changed. She's definitely not friends with some of the kids she was last year before the pandemic hit, and it
Same
goes
with my
back to
sister.
that whole socialization thing where she had the access to socialize with certain people but not others, and I definitely she had the Zoom calls with some of her friends and things like that whenever she could, and then other times she just couldn't. And it definitely, like I said, she's way closer with some people now and definitely not as close with others since this all started. So it's definitely changed a lot of things, especially for kids.
I remember my nephew last week coming up to me and telling me, "Hey, I went out for the very first time since COVID yesterday." And I'm like, "Oh, he's like almost 6, and he just was so happy about leaving the house." And I was like, I can't connect to that. I don't know what that feels like. I don't. It's very strange.
Hey Erica, do you think
But-
Lonely Island are gonna like come out with a new song saying "I just went out for the very first time"?
That would be amazing. I would listen. Yeah, can definitely relate.
Oh, the other really funny thing about this episode is like Cartman goes into counseling with the other three kids.
Yeah.
And then like Mr. Mac is like, "I don't give a shit."
Yeah.
Oh, you kids
Oh,
talk about
yes.
your problems. Like,
I'm 50 years old. This could kill me. Like, he proper
Yeah.
freaked out. It was
Did.
unbelievable.
It was.
I feel like there's
him.
another thing that he freaked out about like a few seasons ago, and I just can't remember what. But he's got that in him. He's got that. Oh, do you know what? It was when he's a hoarder. Like, no, you don't touch that, Nkoi.
Oh,
That's
yes.
mine. Yeah. I just love how he freaks out about everything.
So absolutely, you're right. We've seen hints of that for sure. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
What about Mr. Service?
Oh
That's
my
that's the new Mr. Garrison assistant.
Oh,
we've
Mr.
had
Service.
Mr. Hat, Mr. Twig, Mr. Slave,
Yeah.
and then back to
We've also had the gerbils as well, haven't we? Well,
The
that's part of
gerbils,
Mr. Slave.
yeah.
Yeah, but-
Lemmywings.
Mr. Slave.
Lemmy
Lemmy
Winks
Wings.
is
See, I
Yes.
remember Lemmy Wings,
You
Mr.
remember
Slave.
Lemmy Wings?
I
That's
do.
Awesome.
I do
love
remember
that.
Lemmy Wings. See, there are things, it's like I said, going back to this episode really is like a warm blanket because I can't tell you how many times I go, okay, just because like of this show. There are so many
Right.
little things from watching this show from however many years ago that are just ingrained in my life that will never go away. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I see a gerbil, you're damn right I think about Lemmy Wings. Come on now.
Yep.
Of course.
We talked about a couple of movies being comedies and having so much heart, but the thing about South Park, at least for me, it's always been that. It's always been like extreme comedy, but a lot of heart and just.
Absolutely.
I've missed that so much, and I can't wait to check out more.
Do you think we're gonna
whatever they
get
come up with next?
episodic South Park at all?
I think we'll get one more special, and then it'll either be just specials for the rest of time, or we'll go back into a season after that. I don't think whatever this is will end with just 2 specials. I think there's got to be at least one more special to round things out, and then because on iTunes it says complete season, and I don't know what that means. Like, I can pay an extra thing and then it'll complete my season, and I'm guessing there's at least one more special in there.
Because I had no idea this vaccination special existed until like I was like on a stream, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, did you see that clip of like Carmen just walking down the line, singing shots, 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 shots?" I was like, "Wait, what?" And that's when I was like, "Oh, there's a vaccination special," because there was a pandemic special, and that was pretty funny about
They did a
and
lot
how it
of-
all started.
They did a lot of promos for the pandemic special, and like I would say maybe even a couple of weeks in advance. But this, I didn't hear anything about this until like 3-4 days before it aired.
Mm.
So that's probably the one con about doing the specials, is because people don't know when to expect them.
Yeah.
But we get these huge chunks of South Park throughout the year. I love it. I'm all for it. I would be okay with them doing specials from now on, to be honest. Would you?
Can we go back to Mr. I wouldn't mind either way. I mean, I do like, it's a Thursday. I'm like, oh, Thursday is South Park Day. Watch some South Park. But then there is that thing of you get 6 episodes, then there's like a big break, and then you get another 6
Right.
episodes after the year. So if it means like every couple of months we get like a special, like every quarter, let's say we get a special, I wouldn't be too mad at that either.
Yeah, that would be nice. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, can we talk about Mr. Garrison? Because like when it came off the bus, like,
Yes.
and this is like how much they fucked with his character. Well, or like how much his character has like changed. I looked at him, was like, I recognize him, but from where? And I completely forgot that he was the president. And he kept, I was like, it was just nice to see him as Mr. Garrison again, you know, because he's been through a lot of changes, and like just seeing Mr. Garrison there. I like when he's shopping, and then he's got Mr. Service. And he's like, "Oh, what? A gay man can't shop anymore."
Yeah.
Like
It's like back to season 1 or season 2 again. It's him
Yeah.
and like being accusing people of being homophobic.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
When
Even
he's
though
the
they
only
just-
one who's.
Yeah, even though they just
Yes,
hate him
yeah.
because he's the president.
And I love his phrasing when he says, "I went through a phase where I was president of the United States," as if to say that was a transitional thing for him.
It's just
Like I
a
went through a
phase.
phase.
when PC Prince was like, "Oh yeah, and you say you identified as the president of the United States," like,
Yeah.
We can't have someone identifying as president here in the school. That's when he brings up Mr. Service.
Yeah.
I love everything about this. I could talk about this for hours, honestly, if we could keep going. I think
like
There's a lot.
there's
the more
absolutely a
subtler
lot.
like characters that we see throughout like South Park, because like the news reporter, Tom, I'm outside the club,
Yeah.
where people are getting the shots, and then like the other guy's like, oh well, aren't they both fighting for something they believe in? Well, I believe you're a massive piece of shit, Tom. Fuck
Yeah.
you can't like.
What I really appreciated in that exchange was showing both points of view, even standing with the little cuties. For
Yeah.
once, like South Park does that like no other show does.
Mm.
They will tell you both sides of the story, and then you have to figure out what you want to side with. Sometimes they'll tell you what's right and wrong, but at other times you won't. Like for example,
very
this special,
subtle
you
about it.
honestly can't tell where they stand on any of these issues, and that's what I love about it.
Which is refreshing
Yes.
over here. I can tell you that. Hmm.
Turns out Eric is a little cutie too. Like,
Just a different form of little cutie. We're just not gonna not that way. I'm just a little cute sometimes.
Oh.
Sometimes.
Oh,
And the I Just Want a Shot musical
Oh.
moment that happened, like it was just a Broadway musical outside
Just
the
give me
window.
one shot.
Yeah.
One shot is
Yeah.
all I need.
It reminded me so much. Like I just watched Hamilton for the first time, and that's all it reminded me of was Hamilton. I was just like, this is straight out of it. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
They're all
That's
outside just
awesome.
singing songs and stuff like that.
was
Carl was like,
amazing.
"We can sell this for $1,000 bucks," and like Carl's like, "No, we have to get this to the people." And Sam's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck him, let's take it for ourselves."
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
It had everything, honestly. It even had the musical moments, the comedy, the Mr. Garrison and his crazy sidekicks. It had everything other than maybe Mr. Hanky. But
It did
I'm okay
not,
with that.
but you have Mr. Hanky, so it's fine. Patreon shoutouts for the month of April are Mr. Mac 92, Kessel Winks, and Caesar Towers. Thank you guys so much for pledging.
Thank you.
We love
you.
Blow shit out your dick hole. I want to talk about that.
Can we go one back from that? And it's just
Uh-huh.
like the fact that the whites are back as well. Like the whites are probably
Yes.
one of my favorite
Yes,
introductions. in the past
I
few
would love
seasons,
to
like,
discuss this because it's hilarious as much as like
Can you remind us where we last saw the whites, Camille?
I think the last time I remember the whites is like, I think it's during the Black Lives Matter protests. I think South Park did an episode about it.
Mm.
And like, I think the whites had a kid that was killed, and you know, everyone's like protesting against the state and the police, Black Lives Matter, and you've just got the whites there saying, "Oh, but when a whites is killed, no one cares about the whites." Like, and because their surname is the whites, it just makes it even funnier.
That's a family I was not expecting to see again. Erica, what was it like seeing the whites firsthand, like for the first time?
So you're right. I wasn't expecting it. And yeah, whenever at the grocery store and, they come up to Garrison and, you obviously realize they're a part of QAnon and it's great. And he's just like, blow shit out your dick hole. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And then he literally takes it to try to find some kind of a hidden meaning out of blow shit out your dick hole. And that whole thing is absolutely freaking hilarious because again, it's only something you're gonna see in South Park. It's great. And the fact that at the end, guy ends up turning into a huge dick at the end of the show is
Yes.
the best part with flowers growing out of it.
Yep.
The whole thing is phenomenal. It is great. But yes, I just love how he has the whole board and he's just like, here and here and here and it means this and in Latin it's this and just the whites.
Not
I mean-
unlike how QAnon does things, by the way.
Yeah,
Well, they
I
make it
mean,
specific in the episode where they're like, "Oh, yeah, we do all these research on the internet, and then we teach your kids from the
Exactly.
internet." Like-
and I love how they're like, we find it from Facebook and YouTube and this and it's just like, yep, there you go. It's like, yeah, hey, hi YouTube, what's up? It's
I
great.
can't remember what kid it was. It was like, so does Hillary have the same blood that Obama has, or is it different?
Legitimate questions from Clyde.
Legitimate questions. It's great.
And what I really love about the QTs versus
Yeah.
the other kids is this like Butters is there, and Butters is like, "Oh, I don't have a side. I just want to get out of the house."
Yep.
And that's
that
why
is,
I
like,
love Butters. I love
That's
him.
so true. And for them to point that out and represent people who are just gonna go with the flow and just like do
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
Who would think about representing that and like saying it out loud like that?
Well,
You don't see that, yeah.
It's so genius.
It's the thing.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
a thing.
Oh, it
And
most certainly is.
The way they just depicted so many of made them look like a lot of people we saw a couple months ago at a certain event. It was just very it was great. Yeah. I loved the whole thing. It was great.
Al, earlier you talked about the broship ending and stuff like that, and I'm just looking at the notes I took throughout the episode, and there was a bit where Kyle is replacing the vaccines with some sort of juice, and like,
Yeah.
normally he would talk to Kyle about these kind of things, and they both try to figure things out together, and you just see like him going behind Kyle's back. It's all starting to connect together, and it's making me hurt inside.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was expecting you to be heard. I
Oh,
was shocked
no.
you weren't, to be honest.
Starting to add up.
Is this happening right now
I
as,
say
as
in
we
real
speak, as we
time.
record?
And
Yep.
here it is.
You're seeing Camille react to the broship ending exclusively on the OU pod. We'll see how that ends. We're not sure yet. We'll see. Like I said, I think it's just going to be a temporary thing. It's going to be like the next big story arc, whether it's a season or a couple of specials. And then
Can
maybe.
I ask you guys, like, out of the broship, which one of the broship would you want to hang out with? So we had like, who's the broship and Simply Sassy, but in the broship, who do you want to hang out with in terms of, Kenny, Kyle, Stan, Cartman?
It's probably either Stan. It's probably Stan. I don't know. Like Cartman's gonna be a pain in the ass. Cartman's gonna be fun, and Clyde's there, and Clyde is one of my favorite minor characters. I like Clyde more than Craig, and I tweeted something out. Everyone
Phrasing,
loved-
Al. Phrasing. We can't be talking about little cuties and minor characters
Okay.
now.
Okay. But yeah, I think I'll first check out what Stan's group is like, and then yeah, either Cartman or Stan. I think. What about you, Camille?
Do you know what? It probably is Kyle. Just because with
Yeah.
Kyle, you've got Kyle's little brother as well, Ike. So you can just chill out with both of them.
Nice.
Cartman would be fun to hang out with, but then if you get on his bad side, you know what's coming. Like
Yep.
divine
You're eating your parents.
retribution. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, probably Kyle for me.
Erica, what about you?
I mean, as far back as I can remember, I mean, I'm probably gonna have to say Kyle too because I do love his little brother Ike. Ike is great. So yeah, I'm
You
probably
guys are
gonna
gonna
go
play
Kyle.
Kick the Baby.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jinx.
Exactly.
Well, how are we so sure that Ike's in Kyle's group? They're like growing up now, and maybe he wants nothing to do with his
They
brother.
never grow up. What are you talking about? They've been
Well,
in
to be
this-
fair,
They grew
like,
up
I was right,
once.
like,
once.
They grew up once.
Okay, once. They grew up
Went
one
from
time.
3rd grade to 4th grade, and then that
Okay.
never happened again.
Yes. So it's
like
fine.
Ike is like too busy watching YouTube and Twitch live streams and stuff like that
Yes.
to give a shit what your brother does. Like,
Yes.
See?
yeah.
That's
Ike
fine.
was watching PewDiePie at one point.
No.
Not a joke. This really happened.
No.
Yes.
Oh man.
McKenna, what about you? Who are you gonna hang out with?
Kenny.
Kenny,
Yes.
yes.
I like Kenny.
But Kenny's hanging out with the rest of the boys. He's being. So that's the best of both worlds,
Yeah,
I think.
so now she
Yeah,
gets to
that's
hang out with
perfect.
everybody too. Max got the
There
right
you go.
idea.
I didn't think that was the right answer, but there it is.
That is
There it
galaxy brain.
100%
right
the
there.
right answer.
McKenna beat us all.
So I know the OU pod does like MVP like for every
Ooh.
episode. Is there an MVP
Mm.
for this episode you can think of?
Oh man.
Oh, it's easy.
Who is
I just
it?
thought of it.
Who is it?
Garrison.
Garrison, that's what I was gonna say.
It
Yeah.
will. It most certainly is Garrison. He saved South Park.
He did.
What would
Ouch.
you say, Camille?
Oh jeez, as you like to say, yeah, it's probably Mr. Garrison.
Yeah.
Although I was gonna say Cartman because he does like
Carmen
you know,
does
set
this.
the wheels in motion for the vaccine thing to happen. Yeah,
Mm.
it was kind of
What
sad
about
that
you,
the teacher
Era?
died anyway at the end. I completely forgot. I was not expecting
Because
that.
they had to get Garrison in there somehow. So
Yeah.
just make them work for this and then have it be pointless. And Garrison still comes out on top.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know his preferences, but Erica.
I agree with Garrison. It's absolutely Garrison. I mean, even from the ridiculousness of him, you know, just being so bouncy from everything, and you never really know quite where he is in this episode. He's still the one who saves South Park, obviously. Yeah, it's definitely Garrison.
McKenna, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with her. It is Garrison. Yes.
Excellent. I think Mr. Garrison is most definitely our MVP for this special.
I was reading my
What?
notes. I just remembered as well. Do you remember when like Kyle's like they're all arguing over what to do with the vaccines? Kyle says something and walks away, and Carmen's just like to Kenny and like Stan like, I don't know why you guys don't stand up to him more often. Like,
Yes.
it's such a good
That was
moment.
It is.
amazing. That was awesome. And what about when Cartman's like, we're just what was the line exactly when he's mocking the childish jokes that like they were doing with the period jokes and everything, and he's just we're just phoning it in now. We're just phoning it in,
Yeah.
and it's just like seeing Cartman like address his sense of humor is a
Yeah.
stupid thing to do. It's
Yeah.
just like what is going on? Cartman is super aware now. All of a
But
sudden.
there's like, we'll be there. Period.
Yeah.
Yes, he has to.
So
He
great.
has to. He can't not do it. I love it so much. It was so good. I love this special. I think it's time to wrap it up here. Erica, where can the good people find you?
Everybody can find me at Ambelina on Twitter and, of course, here on all of our various shows. So, the Optimistic Underdog podcast and all the different reviews. I'm usually on most of them. So, oupod.com. Find us all
Nice. Camille, what about you?
What is that, Billy? I can't hear you, Billy. The vaccine's in my ear, Billy.
Too many antibodies.
there. Too many
You
antibodies
can
in my
find-
ear.
You can find me here on this episode at theredacted.com. Please
This is
leave
gonna
a-
come out before the one that explains it,
It
but
is.
sure.
Yep.
please leave a comment down below, because if you don't leave a comment down below, remember, silence is violence.
Yes.
But you, can find,
100%.
you can find me on pokeramble.com, simplysassifist.com, and hanging out with my cool friends on twitch.tv/KamelH.
Ooh. McKenna, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at PotterPants212, or Patch Notes on YouTube, or at Patch Notes Vids on Twitter. and I have a podcast coming out in a couple weeks called HBO Max, MAKS, or apostrophe S, where we review everything on HBO Max, MAX.
Including South Park.
Including South Park.
South
including
Park's
South
on there.
Park.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and
It's been so fun, dude.
I love talking South Park. If you guys want to, if there's enough people who want to watch or listen to us talk more South Park, just let us know in the comments. I would love to. I'll just have to.
I'd love to go back and start from season 1 because it's changed so much.
You
And at the
know-
same
I've
time,
already
it's
done
maybe-
that. I've been doing that
I
the past
mean-
couple of months, and it's amazing.
Maybe we could do a season by season review. I'm not opposed to that. So
That would be fun.
Nice.
that would be fun.
Just let us know if that's what you want, and comment below, subscribe, do all the good things. You can find me at Al Tribesman on everything, and until then, keep it unofficial.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.